It's August 17th. This is the St. Louis Real Estate Investors third Tuesday of the month meeting for August. And I just want to make a few announcements. We do have, I know everybody's been looking forward, a lot of people have been looking forward to getting back in person. And we're going to make a good try at it next month, September. We secured a new facility at the Moolah Shrine Center. We've got the old ACES room there. And if you got your newsletter, if you're on our mailing list and you got our newsletter on the third page, you haven't gotten to it yet. I ran into somebody at the grocery store the other day and said, when are we getting together again? I said, well, have you got your newsletters? Yeah, but I didn't get to page 3 yet. So bottom of page 3, it's got all the details of our September in-person meeting. Show up, you get a Ted Drews. We have a nice hour of networking, face-to-face networking. We'll have masks available if you forget to leave one at home. I know I'm still going to be wearing a mask. My wife and I are. But if I got at the mic, I might take it off when I get at the mic in front of me so everybody can hear me. But no, don't. But I know we got a lot of people that are still a little anxious about getting back together in person. So we are going to be also doing it in Zoom. So we're going to have a little hybrid session. We've got Dan, our vice president, has secured somebody who's operates the mics and the stuff. And he's talked to him, hey, have you done Zoom meetings here? And he said, yes. So he's going to bring his computer and his cameras and get us on Zoom. So we'll have our first hybrid meeting. Bear with us. I've heard from some other groups that it takes a little practice to work out the bugs of doing that. So please bear with us as we struggle to get back to in person and still maintaining a lot of our audience, because we get a lot of audiences joined us since we've gone Zoom, and they can't be here. Like they can't get to St. Louis every month, so I want to keep them informed of what's going on here. So we're looking forward to that. And if you, we're still meeting on Fridays at 11 o'clock with having our legal update with Kathy Davis of Davis and Travaglini LLC, attorneys at law, keeping us appraised of what the situation is with the court system and the other legal aspects of maintaining your residency, your rental residence. Anyway, I'm really excited to hear from our speaker tonight, Harper Zielonko. She was with us. I checked my calendar. It was back in May of 2020. And we thought we were all so innocent there. We thought, oh, by September, we'll be back and everything will be back to normal. Habitat will be back rolling again and having big groups of volunteers throwing those walls up. But I think we're still waiting for that to happen. So we're a little more savvy to what being in a pandemic is about. So looking forward to hearing what Harper has to say and what Habitat Humanity, how they've been surviving this last year or so since we last talked to her. So I want to turn over to you, Harper.
Yes, hello. Thank you so much, Lloyd, and happy to be back with you all again tonight. I'm going to spend some time talking a little bit about us as an organization and what we have been up to over the last, year and a half. Last May, we were newbies to COVID and pandemic shutdowns, and I'd like to say that we've gotten really good at it since then, but that's kind of a lie. We have managed to survive as a Habitat affiliate and keep going. So we are Habitat for Humanity St. Louis. So we serve St. Louis City and St. Louis County. That's our service region. We operate under Habitat for Humanity International. That's our parent company. And we kind of work like a franchise. So they set the rules and then we get to operate how we need to in our community. And in Habitat world, we're actually one of the big kids, which is something we're proud of, but also means that we're not exactly putting ourselves out of business. So in a non-COVID year, we build somewhere between 15 and 25 houses every year. In COVID years, we have like 7 to 10 houses under construction. And I say that because it is a little bit different. In a non-COVID year, we engage about 5,000 to 6,000 volunteers for 11,000 volunteer opportunities. I don't think we cracked the 1,000 marker last year. We haven't been able to consistently host volunteers on our work site since everything kind of shut down. We're actually looking to bring back volunteers after Labor Day on a more consistent basis. And we're hoping that will work out. So everybody send those vibes out to the universe to me, because I think that's the only way I'm going to keep our construction staff sane. We work in a unique model. So we are an affordable housing organization. We are a construction organization and a nonprofit. So our families partner with us. They qualify for our homes based on their income, their need, and their willingness to partner. Willingness to partner is putting in 350 sweat equity hours. And at the end, they purchase their home at an affordable rate. So no one is given anything but access to an opportunity. And that's what we do here at Habitat for Humanity St. Louis. So what I wanted to kind of talk to you guys about today is what those habitat houses look like, how you can get engaged with us if you want to be engaged with us. And I will also open to questions, because you guys had really good questions last time. I talk for a living, so I can do this as long as you want me to, but I really want to make sure we address what you guys are interested in, so we can keep you engaged with us. So I'm going to share my screen. Be patient with me for a second. Make sure this works. Oh, that was my dog deciding he wants to be let out. Oh, hold on just a second. See, we practiced this and then I messed it all up. There we go. Okay. Can you guys see that? Get a thumbs up. All right.
Yes.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. I'm going to play this. So what I wanted to actually do is show you some habitat houses while I talk a little bit about habitat. One of the biggest misconceptions that habitat often has to encounter is that we build substandard houses. And I'll be honest, there are some habitat affiliates out there that build substandard houses. And, you know, probably 25 years ago, there were probably some houses that we were not super proud of. But in the past 20 years, we have substantially changed the way we build. And we do that for many reasons. One is we want to be the best affordable housing builder out there, but fundamentally it's about our families. And it doesn't make sense to offer an affordable mortgage to someone and then build them a terrible home. Build them a home that their utilities leak out the windows, build them a home that they can't sustain for the next 5, 10, 20 years. So we're now building to extremely high energy efficiency standards. The past 10 years, we've been building to LEED standards, LEED Gold, Platinum, or higher. We're actually building to a zero res standard right now. There's some information about that on our website, because I can talk about it, but I'm phoning a little bit of it in just because of construction does it much better than I do. But fundamentally, we want these homes to be as close tied as they can be so that the utility bills are tiny and that our home buyers really can invest in the home from day one. So the two houses that you're looking at right now is actually a slightly out of the norm build for us, not in sort of design, but each year we partner with KMOV TV and 10 business partners right before Thanksgiving, and we build usually one house. A couple years ago, construction got talked into building 2 houses, and we build them from the ground up to being key ready in about a month. We don't do that all the time. Usually it takes us 9 months to a year, but we do this on television and it looks really good on television. So these houses were actually built in about 4 weeks total, from foundation to move-in ready for these families. And we did it with the worst weather we've ever experienced doing this build. You can see a little snow on the ground there, but by the end, these houses were finished. My favorite part of this build is I get to go out and, you know, talk to people and talk to the neighbors and talk to media. And I would say at least twice a day, somebody would drive by and ask us when we were going to push the halves of the houses together. And you can only laugh at it so many times before it absolutely drives you crazy. So these houses will not get pushed together. They are standing where they're supposed to be. And no, we did not make a mistake. But these are 2 Habitat houses that we built just south the Carondelet neighborhood because we want them to fit to the aesthetics of the neighborhood. It's a little more upscale, but they generally, the shotgun style fits into that neighborhood. And then here's actually some volunteers who worked on that site. If you guys remember, about 2 years ago, we had like 9 inches of snow right before Thanksgiving. Since these houses were being built on television, we didn't have any snow days. So this lovely company, TDK Technologies, braved the snow and came out for their workday. And we stuck them on ladders because we thought that would be real fun. But they were good sports about it. So these are some additional Habitat homes. The one on the left is actually in the Bevo Mill neighborhood. We have a bunch of houses in that neighborhood. And this was actually, these are 2 houses that are next to each other. And we knocked down a house here on the left that was a derelict house and put a brand new house in its place. The neighborhood was thrilled. Obviously, you guys work in real estate. It doesn't do anybody any good to have a burned out house sitting on your block. And then on the right, you can just see some of the things that volunteers do. So I always mention this because some people think that volunteers come at our sites and, you know, they're just sweeping up garbage or handing out water. You can do that. You can also learn how to frame the foundation. You can put up siding, and you can learn how to operate power tools because that's just a lot of fun. You can also lay sod. Sod is my favorite because it's like instant gratification. By the end of the day, you have a full lawn and it's just like glorious. It's also a nice skill to have. The large brick house on the right-hand side is another house that we're actually building. It's called the Gate neighborhood. So it's actually just east of Grand at Cardinal Glennon's Children's Hospital. That's a neighborhood we're doing some infill houses in. And so they will have brick fronts and brick sides on them to fit in with that neighborhood. They're just absolutely gorgeous houses. And those are some that are going to be finished. Hopefully this month, we'll have a couple of those houses finished. There's some framing there at the bottom. Some more examples of houses. So that one on the far left, I'll be honest, is not my favorite aesthetic design. I like a little bit more old school, but this is a more modern design. In the neighborhood calls itself Les Saisons. So it's kind of between Soulard and Lafayette Square Park. We finished out a development there in partnership with the St. Louis Housing Authority in a neighborhood that was purchased by one developer who wasn't able to finish it. And then we came in and finished it. So there's 5 houses here. There should be 5 more houses there. And these are houses that finished with diligence of Habitat staff and unfortunately not many Habitat volunteers. So they were working on these houses during the pandemic. And then that house on the top right was actually a rehab project. So we do some rehab projects. We don't do a ton. We did considerably more after the foreclosure crisis, but we've been doing more infill as of late. But sometimes we'll have a rehab project that comes to us, and those can be in neighborhoods literally all over St. Louis City and St. Louis County. It's kind of great to come into a neighborhood that's already well established and take over a house like this because we wouldn't be able to buy the land most of the time to develop a Habitat house on it. And just some more volunteers, because again, if you want to learn how to do some pretty stellar things, we can teach you how to do that on a Habitat site. It also does not offend us at all if you want to redo the flooring on your house and don't know how to, and you want Habitat to teach you. That's fine with me. Come on out. You can learn how to do it on our sites, and you can take those skills back to your own home. And then here's just one more that we have going on in that Les Saisons neighborhood. So you can see just slight alterations to the design of the other houses. But I just want to reiterate that we build affordable, sustainable housing, and that we take into every element of the house that we're designing. So from the foundation design, from putting in ramps, from the rating on the windows, from the appliances, from the paint to the lighting, we want these to be the most sustainable houses out there on the market for our home buyers, because a lot of them are not going to get access to housing like this through any traditional means. So Though I didn't have a whole lot of slides, but those were my slides. I wanted you guys to be able to see habitat houses, so that when you talk about us as an organization or consider supporting us as an organization, you can actually see what your money goes to. It's to building houses. And that's what your time goes to too, if you ever decide to come out and work with Habitat. So that's a fundamental about what I want to talk about. I've been talking now at you all for 15 minutes. I would be happy to continue doing that. Again, I can do this as long as you will have me on here, but I'd love to be able to take some questions from people so we can continue to guide the conversation. Does anybody have any questions that they would like to ask about Habitat and what we're doing?
I would like to just ask you about the cost. I know we kind of briefly
Yeah.
talked about that, Harper, but how has that been affecting with all the construction costs going on?
You guys have probably seen a few news articles about the construction costs. We're at right now about 30% extra cost on Habitat homes, because it's not just been lumber. It's been everything from shingles to paint. We've had a really hard time getting appliances. So you can get home buyers into their houses, but if you can't get them the refrigerator that our in-kind donor, usually donates, they can't live there. So it's literally been everything. And then we do use subcontractors for some of our, for all of the things that have to be inspected. So we're going to use electrical and we're going to use plumbing. A lot of them are behind, and a lot of those contractors, unfortunately, have been experiencing COVID or some sickness. And then, some of them don't want to work in the close contact that they've had to work in before. So we're waiting longer for contractors. We're waiting longer for materials. Everything is just being pushed back out. And just like with any project, the longer it takes, the more money it costs. So usually it costs us, depending on the neighborhood, because that is going to change, about $150,000 to build a house. And that's an average. Some of the houses that I showed you guys today are considerably more than that. And that's because the neighborhood might have restrictions. So some of those are size restrictions. The houses have to be a little bit bigger than we normally build. We like the 1,200 to 1,500 square foot size. Some of those had to be a little bit bigger because we had to do universal design, and we had to have a universally designed bedroom on the first floor. So all of that increases your square footage. So some of those houses were a little bit bigger. A lot of them needed brick fronts. Brick is not cheap. And some of those were not brick facades. They needed brick all the way around. So brick can add somewhere between $20,000 and $75,000 to the cost of the house, depending on how much you put on it. So some of those houses were closer to $200,000. Our homeowners are not going to qualify for that. We also are probably not going to push all homeowners to certain houses. We're only going to match them with houses they can afford. So if our average cost is about $150,000 and they qualify for $130,000, that might be a good match. We bridge that gap with donations, with in-kind relationships, and with all kinds of other magic that we kind of come up with, partnerships with other organizations as we are able to find them. And somebody else actually mentioned the Restore. The Restore is another component of that. If you're shopping at our Restores, a lot of those, a lot of the funding that goes from that goes to supporting the Habitat homes. So someone else asked, how long does a homeowner have to hold the house before selling, and do they generally make money? So that's a multi-layered question. I want to reiterate that once the home buyers buy the home, it is their home. However, we do hold a secondary mortgage that is a forgivable mortgage for that cost difference. So someone's not going to move into their house and make an immediate profit. I will tell you, it's not a quick program. So if somebody has a really great grift going, they're going to be stuck with us for like 2.5 years. It's not a quick program. But that forgivable mortgage, I believe we're at like 5 years now, where that amount goes down gradually each year to prevent like a quick overturn profit. But in 10, 15 years, 20 years, if they want to sell their home, go for it. We've had homeowners call us and they're concerned about that. And we're like, oh, you got a better job and it's out of state and you have to move. Like, that means we're succeeding. The model works. Like that's not a failure. That's a success. Do they make money on the house? That's actually a really tricky question. I don't really have statistics on that. To tell you the truth, it doesn't happen that often. Most often the houses are passed down to the next generation is usually what we have go on. Let's see, the new designs are great. Some of the properties in Wells Goodfellow neighborhood are boarded up. Are these properties available for purchase and rental? And how do we keep Habitat families from foreclosure? So once our families are in our program, they're always in our program. While their mortgages are through traditional bank lenders that we work with, we always know what's going on. So if we have a homeowner that gets in a little bit of trouble, we're going to make a call and see if there's a way that we can get them back on the straight and narrow, because it does happen. Absolutely. Some of the houses in the Wells Goodfellow neighborhood, we did have some homeowners walk away from homes. Some parts of the neighborhoods became unsafe. And that's actually an ongoing situation that I can't completely comment on for privacy reasons, but it's not a situation Habitat has walked away from. There's actually a lot going on in the neighborhood, and there's actually quite a bit going on with the bank lenders in that neighborhood. So it's something that we're very actively working on. So somebody else asked about who designs the homes and do architects volunteer? First off, yes, architects volunteer. We would love for them to volunteer more. We work with a lot of different architecture firms. Frankly, designing homes is expensive, and we have to change into basically every neighborhood we go into. So you can absolutely volunteer your services. We've worked with quite a few different architecture firms to make sure we're meeting the needs of our family and the needs of the neighborhood. You've got somebody who wants to volunteer, I would love to hear from them. Somebody talked about modular, sustainable, smart homes, S2A. They're basically pieces that you put together. There are some Habitat affiliates that are looking into that. We haven't. And part of the reason for that is we have the space, we have the volunteer force, we have the construction labor force to continue building the way that we're doing. And sometimes those modular pieces are not actually cheaper. Especially sometimes when they come put together, or you have to put them together yourself, it ends up creating more of a headache. It's something I know our construction department is aware of, but I don't know how actively we're looking at it. Another person asked about, are we building homes in the county? We didn't last year, we didn't this year, we will next year. And sometimes that's just calendar based, whether we get a piece of property ready and cleared for construction. It's very rare actually that we don't have developments in both the city and the county. This just happened to be two kind of off years. Have we ever partnered with Larry Rice for their homeless housing efforts? So we haven't explicitly, and I want to mention the difference between what we do and what they do. Homelessness is not the issue that we're addressing. So we are addressing affordable permanent housing. Working with the homeless population is often very different. You're trying to get them in temporary and permanent housing, and you're often it's very tied to social services as well. And we provide some of those services to our families as well, but what we're looking for is a little bit different. Our families are working families. They're also usually a little bit in more stable conditions than someone who is actively homeless. Obviously, the definition of homeless varies from who you're talking to. When they do homeless counts, it's not just people who you see on the street, it's people who are couch surfing too. So some of our families do qualify for homeless under that statistic. But it's not quite the issue that we're addressing. We really want to get people into stable, affordable housing who are working, who can pay their bills, and who are a little bit more stable. But we do get about 5,000 phone calls every year. People asking about housing. We've seen that number jump dramatically in the past year. I don't have numbers on it. We'll have those soon, but it has shifted quite a bit. And we anticipate that being the way it is for the next year and a half. This is my first year. I've been at this affiliate for 6 years. This is the first year we've had to close our list, which means we're not technically bringing in new families right now. We're still assisting families in getting their credit and things like that ready, but the families who would be ready for homes are looking at a year to a year and a half out, and that's a lot further out than we normally go. And that's just because we're behind and we're trying to catch up. Okay, and I think Mary made some really good points about designing low-cost sustainable housing. Frankly, it's something that I would like to be doing more of, and it's just been a capacity issue. Great questions.
I just know they have a whole team of people who work on like energy efficiency, and like they're always looking at different technologies to see like what's affordable and what's realistic. And so I was just curious if you guys had ever tried to partner on any projects, because it seems like you have similar goals.
Yeah, and I would say we probably have. It may not just be in my memory, but you know, our CEO has been with us over 16 years. Our director of construction, I think, been something like 12. I would think they probably have worked together on some components. We did a kind of a build-a-thon under the arch many, many years ago, where we actually shipped out prefabricated homes down the Mississippi River to some hurricane affected areas. So like those models and those partnerships have existed in other capacities. I don't know of any active relationships right now, but I'm sure our CEO is in conversations that probably address that.
I'd be definitely interested in that.
So a couple people asked about volunteering. I'm going to take the information that I see in the chat. I'm happy to respond to you. Happy to have individuals out, happy to have groups out. For the larger groups, we actually do pair that with philanthropic giving. That's how we bridge our affordability gap. But I'm happy to talk to anybody about that. So I will send that information out, and you guys are also welcome to reach out to me on our website at HabitatSTL.org. All of my information is there, and I'm happy to talk to you guys about volunteering. Someone else asked about material donations. We would be happy to take material donations. So everything can actually be filtered through the Restore, but our Restore staff actually has a list and a lookout. So if there are certain materials that fit our building standards on our houses, they will pull those, and those will go to construction. So we do have 2 Restores. We have one in Des Peres, and we have one on Grand in down Grand at Chippewa. You can donate to both of those stores. We would love for you to donate to both of those stores. We also do pickups, and you can schedule that right through the website. Someone else, how big is the full-time staff? So our staff with both Restores, with construction, and with part-time people is slightly under 50 people. We have quite a few part-time people who work in the stores, who work as drivers. Our construction staff is 6, which I laugh because we went from like 300 volunteers a week to a construction staff of 6. So, you know, slows things down a little bit. But for a Habitat construction staff, we're actually fairly large. Someone asked about 3D homes fitting in the community requirements, 1 or 2 bedrooms. So there are Habitat affiliates that do these smaller homes. We're not doing smaller homes. Honestly, we don't have a lot of families asking for the smaller homes. They're asking for 3 to 4 bedroom houses. So building 1 to 2 bedroom houses for us is not fitting the need of our community that's looking for affordable housing. There are a lot of Habitat and domestically. Some of them are getting really, really good at it. And I know there are some other organizations that work specifically with homeless populations and with veterans who are looking into those 3D printed houses and the smaller scale houses for individuals. We would also be looking at those, honestly, if we had as much want and need. But what we're seeing is really the larger families looking for affordable housing. So we are building a little bit bigger. Yeah, and rehabs are always a financial concern. So we actually are partnering with the Art Place initiative, which I guess is like South Bevo Mill, not quite Carondelet. I don't know that St. Louis neighborhood title, but they're working on some artist affordable housing, and they're doing a lot of rehab projects, and we're actually a part of that. And some of these are extensive rehab projects. So like one we went into recently only had 3 walls. So I guess you technically call that a house. We called it a shell, but it will be a house when we're finished with it. But yeah, for us, the rehab has to make financial sense. And some of those are considerably smaller just because that's what the stock is out there. Mary asked about shipping container homes and affordable options. There are some other Habitat affiliates looking at shipping container housing. We have not been actively looking at it. Part of it is mostly because we're able to get access to land, and the demand. We've talked to our families about it too, and we don't make our families live anywhere where they don't want to live, obviously within reason. And they weren't super interested in shipping container homes. We would also have to dramatically shift our construction model and what our volunteers can do. Sometimes they're more expensive than they're really worth. Down the line, I think it's something we might be interested in, especially as part of a partnership. Good questions. I'm actually going to turn a light on here, so I'm going to stop my video for a second and I'll be right back. Oh, that's a lot better. It's getting real dark in here. Anything else I can answer?
You mentioned, you mentioned that you hope to get more volunteer groups back by after Labor Day.
Yes.
Do you have some groups lined up right now for that, or?
I do. I have quite a waiting list of people who are very patient with me last year and are now ready to come back. But that doesn't mean we can't accommodate new groups. So if there are groups who are, want to come out with us and have a little bit of flexibility, because I'm going to have kind of a mad rush probably in September. We would love to have you. And frankly, I like to talk to new groups about engagement with us, because you might think you want to do construction, but you might also want to work in one of our restores. You might want to be more connected with our families. Someday we'll be able to have events again in person, and we can match that. If you want to be engaged with Habitat in a volunteer capacity, I have a place for you. Sometimes it's just a matter of finding out what that best place is. And we can always try out construction. I mean, it's a lot of fun. And I would love to have you. So, maybe it's a matter of trying a couple of things and seeing what the engagement looks like. We just need to talk through those components.
Okay. Yeah, I know after your presentation last year, we did talk about it at one of our board meetings about getting together later and having an event with our group.
Yeah.
So a lot of our younger investors may not have worked on a construction project yet, and some of us older ones are getting, so we can't do as much, but we like to help teach some of the younger folks a few things, because we've been through some of these projects a few times.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
It'd be a good and networking for our members of our group.
Yeah.
So I'll bring it up at our next board meeting, and
please do. And I mentioned this to everybody. Habitat is a teaching on-site organization. So we honestly don't care if you've never picked up a hammer before and you don't know which end you're necessarily supposed to use for which. We will teach that on site. So we provide all of the tools, all of the safety equipment, all of the know-how. All we ask is that you show up and are willing to learn. And, if an opportunity comes and we say, hey, who wants to learn how to operate a bandsaw? Raise your hand. We're going to teach you how to do it. If you've never installed siding and you're slightly hesitant to be on a ladder, we can kind of work through that together as well. But we would love to have anybody from the novice to the skilled out working on our sites. And, you know, bless you if you are the skilled. We love you, have you. We might reteach you the Habitat way, but we would still like to have your oversight while you're there on our site.
Understand.
Mary asked a little bit more about earth homes made from recycled materials. I honestly can't speak to that. I don't know if we have looked into earth homes. I'm sure other Habitat affiliates have. And I would actually say our foreign affiliates, I'm sure have built some, especially the like recycled materials. We're not currently at the capacity to do that. And I don't know if we've been able to bring that knowledge back to work in a domestic setting. I'm sure that knowledge and skill set exists. It's not something that we're currently doing. One of the things that we do work really hard on our site is to reduce waste. So there's going to be a certain level of waste because we are working with volunteers, and you can measure as many times as you want and sometimes have to cut multiple times again, but we're patient with those things. But every piece of trash or every piece of material has a place on our site, and we actually go through that with our volunteers. One of my favorite, I shouldn't call it a favorite thing because it's such a twisted thing to say, but I like to watch volunteers walk off the site and then try to decide where the thing they're holding is supposed to go, because there is literally a place for everything. So there's a tiny little trash bag, and then there's like 6 other stations where they're supposed to put things where we can recycle and reuse them. So I like to watch them struggle as they figure out where things are go, because it's something we're really proud of. We have found a place for everything on our site so that we can reduce our impact as we're a builder in our community. Let's see. What else have we got going on? I will say, I mentioned this very briefly on the 2 houses that we weren't going to push together. We will be building our KMOV Home for the Holidays house again. We'll start right at the end of October, and we'll dedicate the Monday before Thanksgiving. So if you want to be there while we document this on TV and watch me, well, you won't see me because I'm really good at being behind the screen. But hopefully we'll be able to build a house from foundation to key ready like we have in the past. We weren't able to do that last year just because, first off, of COVID restrictions and where we were in our build schedule, but we have a property that's ready to go, and we're just really excited to kind of get that little piece of chaos back to normal. It should be fun to watch it go up on TV.
Have you set any goals for next year for 2022, when we hope things will be a little more normal?
Yeah, we're so yes and no. We are starting our budgeting process for next year. So a lot of it will depend on how we close out this year. But we will be in 3 different neighborhoods next year. So we have 2 that are active right now, and then a 3rd development is actually, we'll be going back to it. This is the one that's right. It's actually right on the county line. But it'll be the 2nd phase of development in that neighborhood. So we have 7 houses there right now, and we'll be coming back to do 5 more. So that'll be next year. And we hope to close all 5 of those houses out next year, as well as we should be closer to like 12 houses next year, I believe. We won't quite get to that this year. We have houses under construction, but not quite to the closing line. But mostly we just kind of hope to have volunteers out working alongside our families, and, you know, get that backlog of families a little bit more on track so we can get them in their homes. Most of our families have fared fairly well through the shutdown and through COVID. And honestly, part of that is because a lot of them are frontline workers. They work in healthcare, they work in schools, they drive your buses. They were working. Most of them, for the most part, their health was intact, but we did have quite a few scares and some sad times.
You mentioned about purchasing some land, having money to purchase land. Do you always purchase the land, or are you open to getting donations of land? If, say, one of our members has an extra lot that he'd like to see a nice house on to improve the neighborhood?
Yes, to all of that. So land comes to us in every way, shape, and form. And I really do mean that. So we work with the city of Little Rock to buy off their condemned lots and, the $1 registry and whatever. We work with municipalities. We buy outright. We take donations. I will facilitate a donation. If you need something, if you would like to reduce your tax debt, give me a call. Yes, we'll work with you. I can't guarantee we will take it, because if there's a reason the lot has not sold, if there's a reason that it's wonky or there's something terrible buried in it because it's St. Louis, and let's face it, those rules did not come into place until recently. So you dig up a lot of property and there's things underneath. But within reason, we can work with you on those kinds of things. And we want to. We want to continue building here, and we can usually figure out a way to do it. Yes, we buy LRA homes and LRA lots every year. We're always working with them on those. If we can get them cleared, the title ready, it's in a neighborhood that's reasonable. The lots are reasonable, because sometimes they're like the skinniest lots you've ever seen and we just can't get a house on it. That might not work out. We have 3 houses right now that are on 2 of the wonkiest lots I've ever seen, but we worked with an architect and we made it work. We can sometimes do that, sometimes we can't. But we will be as creative as we can if we can keep our homeowners still in a good position. So criteria to qualify for one of our homes, they give us a call. You go through a pre-screening process where we talk to the families about their income. That's the first part. And then they're going to go through a couple of interviews after that, including a complete history, work history. We're going to go through them with their credit. We're going to talk to them about their needs. They have to agree to partner with us. So they're going to put in their sweat equity hours, whether that is physically being on the site or going through financial literacy classes. Their kids get access to mentoring. We have a whole bunch of resources that they go through because we want them to be really great neighbors and be really prepared to be in their neighborhoods. And then they have to meet the income requirements. So low to very low to medium income. So we have a income bracket according to family size that they need to fit in. So how many families are on the waiting list in the St. Louis area? We probably have, so we put our families into tiers, is probably an important thing to mention. So tier 1 is a family comes to us and they qualify right away. Their income looks good. They've been at their job for probably more than a year. They probably don't have any big dings on their credit. We work with them on credit. Tier 2 is, maybe they've just got a new job. They've only been there like 3 months. They might have some blemishes on their history that they need to work on. They might be a year to a year and a half out of qualifying straight out for the program. And then tier 3 is they got a lot of stuff to work on. Tier 3, we actually work with an outside partner to get them some financial literacy classes, some credit counseling, because they may never have had credit in their entire lives, or they may have had a family member who wrecked that for them. So we want to help them get the resources they need to rebuild those financial institutions that they may have never had the resources or the education to work through themselves. So through all those lists, we probably have about 150 families. Qualified and ready for homes is usually closer to like 25 to 30. That's the backlog list that we're working through right now. Since, in a good year, we build 15 to 25 houses, we're lower than that right now. It's going to take us a little longer to get through our list than normal. A couple people asked about how to reach out to me directly about volunteering. I'm going to put my email in the chat, but if you lose it or can't find it or whatever, you can find me on our website. All my information is on there as well. And if you had additional questions or want to be pointed in the direction of some other habitat resources, you can reach out to me and I can kind of be your clearinghouse for that. Cool. Thank you all for your great questions. Like I said, I can talk forever, but it's nice to be able to answer the questions that you guys have, because some of these are things that I don't think of to mention in my day-to-day life. All right. I think we may have run it all out.
You're such a good source of information there, Harper. Thank you very
Oh, yeah.
much.
I can't help myself. Someone else just asked about opportunities for interior designers and interior architecture. Reach out to me. If you want to be active with us, I'll find you a place.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's great.
Yeah, we really appreciate you coming on with us again, Harper, and
Anytime.
keeping us up to date on what's going on. I know, yeah, a lot of our people are interested in helping. We're kind of have a lot of us are in the affordable housing provider business ourselves, and one way or another, either rehabbing for resale or providing affordable rental houses. It's one thing our group is known for. We used to be known as the group of old landlords, but we're trying to shed that.
It's a better name. It's
Shed
a good
that
acronym
image.
now.
Shed that image. And if we had their faces, we'd see a lot more younger faces on here now than we would have in the past. So yeah, we're investing in real estate's attracting a lot of different folks at this point. So, anybody else have anything for Harper? We don't want to keep her any longer than we have to, but we.
And again, please do reach out. I'm happy to talk habitat and find a fit for anybody who's willing to be with us.
Okay, well, I want to bring it up at our next board meeting myself again and see if we got the interest. We might take a poll amongst our members to see if we're interested in organizing a work day.
Sounds good.
We can get together. So
We'll take care of you.
okay, really appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Harper.
Okay, thank you all, and we don't see you on a Friday for our legal update. We'll hopefully see you maybe in person next month in September. We'll have a little more details coming up on our website, map of how to get to our place, but everybody's got Google Maps now. You got look at the address on Fifi Road. You'll be able to find where the Shriners are, and hopefully see some faces live and in person next month. So.
Well, does anybody want to stay on and chat about affordable, sustainable housing who has personal experience? I mean, I know we were releasing Harper, but is anybody interested in staying on and chit-chatting about their personal explorations of different things?
Well, it sounds like you have, Mary. You had a lot of good questions about different things. What's been your experience?
Well, so my real estate coach told me that, because I've been talking about LRA homes ever since I found out about them. I knew you could get houses for like $1 because there's literally, I've looked at the LRA listing and there's I want to say there's at least 100 homes at any given time. And then I hear there's a tax something clearance sale like once a year. I think they you know, they have like a clearance sale. I don't know exactly what day it is of the year or whatever, but you can put like any reasonable bid on a house. Like I know a guy who got one years ago, like 20 years ago, before I even got into interest in real estate. He got a home for $1. Now, granted, they didn't necessarily do as good of a job fixing it up as some of us might, you know, because we probably, a lot of people in this group probably have more knowledge of contractors and are using it as an investment opportunity, not just some, you know, wouldn't necessarily live in it. But it's my understanding that the LRA, now is Harper already, is she gone already?
No, she's still hanging in there.
Oh, she's still there. I don't even,
Yeah,
I
she's
can't see
there.
everybody. Okay. It was my understanding that the rules that the LRA has is that you have to, in order to qualify to buy a property at that type of price, that, or just to buy any of their properties, that you have to agree to live in the home for 2 years. And, you know, as an investor, I know a lot of investors are interested in the properties, but obviously can't live in 20 houses at a time. I mean, there's only one of you, you know, and these houses aren't livable. They're like crumbling. So it's like, you know, and I hear that it's at least 10 to 15,000 to have something like bulldozed or whatever. I'm just pulling these numbers out of things I've heard. I actually have never done research on this type of stuff. But, you know, I'm just thinking of, because it really pains me to see these empty lots, and like the fact that there's even 100 LRA properties available is sad to me, because they're just sitting there and nobody wants them. And they're crumbling and the bricks are falling off in the street and hitting little kids in the head and just stuff like that. And the city and the tax dollars, it's a mess. And so I'm so thankful that there's organizations like Habitat doing something. But as far as private investors, you know, it would be really nice if there was a way to work with the local government to have some of those regulations removed so that, you know, private enterprise could come in and do something. I was just curious if, yeah, I got a lot to say about this. So maybe, I don't know, and the Larry Rice thing, I'd love to talk about that. But anyway, somebody want to chime in?
So I will say, I do believe there are some, I want to call them leeways. If you're buying a property that's unlivable, that there is some flexibility there. They put some of those restrictions in place so that investors without the best of intentions don't pull up properties and then sit on them. Because, you know, if if it's $1 and you can spend $100, you can have 100 properties that you don't do anything with. So they put those restrictions in place to keep people, well, honestly, because some of those properties have been seized from people who did that. So they want them specifically to be developed. So they do put those restrictions in place so they are developed. However, if you are one person looking at one property, and like we looked at a property that literally had 3 walls, yeah, they might be willing to give you a little bit of leeway on that one. You're going to need a contractor to come in and look at those things. Like if there's something you want, I would say, you know, reach out to the city and see what can be done.
Yeah.
Because if you come at it with a plan, you know, I think it's more likely to be approved. I cannot speak completely to those because that's not my area. Real estate development, you know, in general is not, but that's why that program essentially exists.
I didn't think of that. That's why they would have that's the reason why they would have those regulations in place.
Yeah, I know that's been a problem in the city. A lot of the city deteriorating areas that speculators came in, bought up all the cheap houses, and just waited for things to turn around. Waited for some developers to come into the neighborhood and start developing, and they just sat on them. And as the neighborhoods started appreciated. I know I saw it in back in the 70s. I thought I wanted to move into Lafayette Square, and I went in and made offers on a couple of houses from some people that were just sitting empty, and but there were a lot of them that were sitting empty that you wouldn't want to touch, and they weren't for sale anyway, or they had a ridiculous price on them if you approached the owner. It was out of the question. So that's, yeah, I'm sure LRA is running into that a lot. So yeah, they want to get things turned around. And I've heard people in St. Louis County talk too about they're bad about holding on to properties for back taxes and not just sweeping the books. The city is a little more lenient and has programs, but I know there's some areas in St. Louis County that some developers would like to go in and turn over some of the vacant properties that are sitting there. But the county says, oh, well, you got to pay the 10 years back taxes that are on them so it's not worth that. Well, yeah, we might be willing to pay $100 or $500 for it to get a property on a lot that's still rehabable, but not to pay 10 years worth of back taxes on. So it's, yeah, there's a lot of it, is on the governmental end of it to be want to change and work with developers or rehabbers. So, anybody else got anything?
Why is everyone else being so quiet?
I don't know. You gotta get on Friday. Everybody's a little more. Join us at 11 o'clock on Friday after the legal update. We get all real chatty and
there's 30 other people on this call who aren't even on video and are just listening. Yeah. And I know you guys got something to say. Come on, somebody. Yeah, John. What do you think, John? Come on.
I think like Lloyd said, everybody has a little more energy on Friday mornings. I think it's kind of beat up in the evening here. Yeah. No, there's some good points you brought up, Mary, too. Yeah, and you too, Lloyd, about the properties in the county and the city. It's like night and day, because I know I've talked to the county this many years ago. I don't try anymore, but a lot of the properties they should sell, in my opinion, like some of the other counties, over the counter that you can get for a reasonable amount. They just don't. They'll just keep adding up the taxes and the penalties and interest. Like you said, you might have 10 years instead of only 5 years like some of the other counties. And it just doesn't make sense from a financial standpoint as an investor or as a person that actually even wants to buy them. Because I always thought, before I even knew about investing, that would be a great way to do it, because I knew about properties for back taxes. And as you know, Lloyd, I've done lots of them. Yeah. I do lots of little deals, but some of the deals just don't make sense. And I wish some of the cities where they have such a conglomerate, in an inventory of houses would just look at it sensibly. And I don't know what the figures are today, but I know St. Louis County back in, I think it was in 2006, had like 700 properties. And the last time I looked, they had 2,700 on their books. So that doesn't make sense to me.
And that's in the county?
That's what St. Louis County was. I don't know what the figures are today, because I don't even pay attention to the county anymore because of that reason. There's other counties that are way friendlier, and they will sell over the counter. I mean, you can go buy properties in some of the littler counties around Missouri, and it's, fairly easy process.
So someone asked what the LRA stands for, and I believe it stands for the Land Reutilization Authority, and it is a government. Okay. Sorry, Land Reuse Authority. See, I don't really know what I'm talking about. So Harper, do you want to talk about that? What they do and what they.
Honestly, it is not my strong suit. So I don't want to give advice and information on that. I think it might be reutilization. We've just always called it reuse.
You're probably right. I don't know. I'd have to Google it. I don't know.
They do have a website. That you can download the sale list and search by neighborhood. It's a pretty decent user interface online. It's through the St. Louis. It should be through the St. Louis government website. So like if you would just Google LRA St. Louis, you should be able to come up with it.
So it was my understanding they don't have any county properties. I thought the LRA was a city thing only.
It's municipality by municipality. So you'll have to look it up separately from St. Louis City to St. Louis County.
But
so like St. Louis City is going to have an LRA. St. Louis County is going to have an LRA list.
I didn't even know that. I didn't even know a county one existed.
It should. I don't know if it's as user friendly as the city one.
Yeah, the pictures kind of are horrible. They give you like one picture and it's like, well, then how are you gonna, and And during COVID, they were like, oh yeah, send us like snail mail or something if you're interested in a property. Like they didn't even have like an email or something. It was like, what? Like it was so weird how they, it was so inefficient. It was so like, I don't know. Because it's like if someone like me wants to go tour a bunch of them and see them and, show some interest, it's like, it seemed kind of like
It may not have been staffed, to tell you the truth.
right.
I don't know that for a fact, but it kind of sounds like it wasn't staffed at the time.
I think I read an article somewhere in the St. Louis Post-Dispatch about that exact thing, is that they're so backlogged with like work or something, like some kind of like processing all these properties or not knowing what to do with them, and that they don't even have. Yeah, I think there's some issues there, something. I don't know what they're backed up, I think was the problem. Something. I don't know enough. But yeah, maybe they need someone like me to work there. And connect everybody, get all these properties sold. It's like orphans. They need new moms and dads. They need a loving home or something. Anyway, so does anybody want to chime in about the whole Larry Rice thing and what they're doing there? Does anybody know anything, or am I the only one who knows anything about it?
And what's going on with Larry Rice? Last night I heard they closed his facility in the city.
Well, yes. The facility was shut down, right? Exactly. But what I'm talking about, there's a branch of his New Life Evangelistic Center that works on energy efficient, sustainable, low cost housing options for, of course, a lot of their work is geared toward the homeless or the unhoused community, but they also deal with people in transitional housing and stuff like that. And they're always looking for new ways to help people, because a lot of people are kicked out of their homes because they can't afford their utility bills and stuff like that.
Right,
so they're always
yeah.
So they're looking for ways to help with that. And they have a team working on sustainable and eco-friendly stuff. And I was just curious, it would be really neat to get all these people together, all these intelligent, brilliant minds together, and create some rad design, like edgy, cool, hip housing that's affordable, that's on these LRA lots. They're just sitting there. And wouldn't it be a win-win for everybody? If somehow investors could make money and yet it still help the community, and it'd be some kind of like win-win. Wouldn't that be cool if somebody could figure out how to do all that?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I'm not a designer. I mean, I'd like to be a designer. That's what I want to do. If anybody is rehabbing a house and needs somebody to go shopping at the tile store and the flooring store and the lighting store, please Facebook friend me or something, or email me. It's mary.gallifrey. You can see how my name is spelled right there. mary.gallifrey@gmail.com. What I'm looking to do is, I do not own a rehab right now, but I want to be a part of the process of like picking out all this stuff and like figuring out what fun changes to make, and like where's the feature wall gonna go, and all the cool stuff, and like are we gonna rip out the cabinets, are we not, are we gonna all that stuff. Has anybody got a rehab they're working on and they're just like, I don't know what to do to it? Or landscaping too? I'm interested in that too. Who's got a rehab? Is anybody on this call?
I rehab in my own house.
Okay.
You might want to tune in on Fridays with that, Mary.
Yeah.
After the attorneys, we have a networking session, and haves and wants, and buy, sell here, whatever you want to do, and we talk about contract.
Okay. I thought that was the legal update only.
It is.
No,
It's after that.
After the legal update, we hang on. We do haves and wants, networking, ask your questions. Yeah. So that's a good discussion. There's a lot more people that are willing to share there.
And that's Friday morning. When?
It's 11 o'clock on Friday.
Every Friday?
That's what I just said.
And pretty much every Friday. Yep. If you're on our email list, you should be getting an email about it.
Okay.
If you're not, go to our website, and you can click post anything, get your contact information in our website, and you'll get on our email list. STLREIA St. Louis REIA, STLREIA. I leave it letter out.com.
You know, if we can do something exciting enough, you know, we can pitch a show idea to HGTV and, you know.
Will you be surprised? We got an email a couple years ago about they were looking for somebody that I got a letter about it, and I pitched it at one of the meetings, and a couple of people came after there. I gave them a copy of the letter. Here, contact these folks. They want to. I don't know if I still got a copy of that around or not. They were looking. There was a production company that was looking for a rehabber in St. Louis to do a show.
Oh my gosh.
So,
That's awesome.
So yeah, we have been contacted on that. So yeah, join us on Friday 11.
Okay.
Your update. Looking forward to hear more from you. Okay, well, thank you everybody for tuning in tonight, and thank you to Harper again. I think she finally got off here. So looking forward to getting together in person next month in September on the third Tuesday. So hope to see you all then. If not, on our Friday call before then.
Thanks so much, Lloyd.
Okay, take care.
Bye, everybody.
Okay,
Good night,
bye-bye.
everyone.
Bye.